Welcome to Seller Sessions. I am your host today, Sharon Even, and I am so happy to finally have the one and only, my good friend, Refael Elbaz, the CEO of Unicargo, back. How are you doing, Refael?
Hey Sharon, how are you? I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you
I'm
today?
doing I'm doing good. I'm a little bit sick, as you already know. So we'll just let everyone know I have a throat infection. So I have this very sexy voice right now. I'm joking, obviously. And if anyone is watching us, we'll let everyone know that you've also broken your hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that quickly.
Well, it's kind of a sad story because I was supposed to fly like in 3 days to Seychelles with my family to a private island and a huge resort, and it just got canceled because I broke my hand. It happened during an MMA training. I
Mm.
decided that I'm getting fat by sitting at the office every day, so I gotta move my body and do something. And I'm not a gym guy, so I went to an MMA training. I started it like 2 months ago. I love it. Hit and get hit. But unfortunately, I broke my arm last week. So yeah, it's a very sad
Well,
story because I was supposed we have a holiday next week, Passover, big holiday. The
mm.
kids are at home, no school, no kindergarten, and I was supposed to be with my wife and three boys having fun in a dreamy island, white sandy beaches. But
Wow.
nope, I'm gonna be home with three boys at home.
No kindergarten for a whole week.
Kindergarten,
So
fun, fun,
Look,
fun.
we'll send you hope you recover quickly and lots of luck for next week.
Sounds
Um,
good.
I, and I, on the other hand, am flying to Greece on Saturday, not to Seychelles for a beautiful resort like you were supposed to, but also to a nice resort in Rhodes. So um, awesome. Now, in today's podcast, we're going to be doing, I've been running after you for about 2 months to get you back on here, but you've been so busy with everything going on in your business. So first of all, thank you for making time. I also ran a little bit late today, so thank you for making time to be with us today. We have a lot to go through today. I made a
Yeah,
whole, before we
lots of
started,
news.
I asked you a lot of questions. So we're going to go through today an update on supply chain and logistics, more logistics, because that's your field of things. For anyone who, for whatever reason, doesn't know you, can you give a really quick intro for who you are and what Unicargo is about, and then we'll start.
Yeah, so my name is Refael. I'm the founder of Unicargo. Unicargo is a company I founded back in 2015. We are a freight forwarding company who dedicated and mainly dealing with e-commerce businesses, entrepreneurs, or what we like to call it here, basically companies who sell physical products online. We've been in this business basically from the start, from the moment e-commerce started really picking up in the world, especially Amazon. So we deal a lot with Amazon sellers. We deal a lot with aggregators in this market. We move full container loads, less than container loads, air, express. We have a big contract logistics department where we do warehousing in the States, in the UK, in Germany. We're all about tech and data. We are really young. Like you see me, I'm the founder. I'm 37 years old. Everybody's very young here and enthusiastic about what we do. We love data and we love uh, building products for tech-driven companies or people whose data is very important for them. So that's who we are. We've been in this business for a very very long time, and
Mm.
we've dealt with almost every possible situation, from dealing from the smallest sales possible, people just starting out, it's their first international shipment, and we have clients that move hundreds and hundreds of containers a month. So we do a very wide variety of types of clients. I've been heavily active in the e-commerce industry for many years. In the past 2 years, I think I took kind of a step back to kind of reorganized the structure and the infrastructure of our business. We kind of scaled very, very fast with what happened in the past 2 years. We call it the e-commerce boom. We've seen the business, our business, just grown. Sometimes I would say to my, upper management, too fast. And when a business grows too fast, there are a lot of adjustments to be made, mainly infrastructure, systems, and procedures. And that's what I've been focusing on in the past 2 years. We are going in a very, very good direction. We keep on growing, and basically I'm planning to be back full time to, talking and being the face and the front of the company in the next 2 to 3 months. I'm gonna get back real hard on that. So I really missed it. I love, being involved and being with interactions with people like you and the market itself, Facebook groups, and so on. I really miss it. So I'm very happy to be here again today.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that you're coming back, because here's the voice starting. I've been working with Unicargo for a long time, and I also consider you and I are also friends beyond that. But the thing about Unicargo specifically is that you guys are very customer driven, like your people before your service providers. You care a lot about each and every one of your customers, and I think that's what differentiates you from many other forwarders out there. But we will now get into the moral of today's podcast.
Let's start with the good things. You always complain about me that
I know
I'm the bearer of bad news.
That's true. Let's start. Let's do, let's do the sandwich, where you start with like the good, you put all the bad in the middle, and then you finish with the good. So let's start with the first good thing, the USTR. I'll let you talk about it and explain.
So basically, we all know about the China tariff that the US government has imposed since, I would say, 2018, I think. So basically, there are higher duties of products manufactured in China, but I know that most of the smaller importers don't know that almost every day there are exclusions granted for these tariffs, which means an importer can actually file an exclusion to the USTR, which is the regulated body for customs, to say something like, hey, we can't produce this product domestically, or there are limited resources to manufacture or produce or buy these products in other places other than China. So you can file for an exclusion, and sometimes you get granted an exclusion. And when an exclusion is approved, basically, it means that you are getting exempt from paying the higher China duties. And what most people don't know is that if importer A gets an exclusion for his product, it's publicly published, so it's open for the public, and every single importer can use that exclusion and apply it on his product if the HS code is the same, if they are moving or importing the same product as importer A who filed for the exclusion. So what happened is these exclusions has a limited time. They have an expiry date. So a large amount of HS codes, a larger amount of products were expired in October 2021, and 352 consumer products, which is relevant to a lot of Amazon sellers, basically got a renewal, and that renewal is due to start on the 8th of April, 6 days ago. And basically what you should all do as an importer is look at your HS codes and go back to your freight forwarder or customs broker and raise an inquiry about exclusions. There are other places to start looking at that online, but you need to be a bit more professional in order to know and check your own exclusions. I would recommend you go through a customs broker or your freight forwarders to have them check it for you. That's their job, basically. And the good part about it, that if your product is applicable for an exclusion, you can actually file the exclusion historically back.
A refund.
Yeah, for a refund for all the imports you did for that specific products since October 21. So let's say you have an exclusion that is going to renew this month, you can actually file for a refund for all the imports you did for that product in the past 6 months. And again, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Again, the bigger you are, the more volumes you move, the more imports you do, the more money you'll get back. So I would really recommend for everybody who ship to the US from China, manufacturing from China, which is, we all know that's the majority of Amazon sellers, to check that. On a side note, it's very important to understand that if you ship consolidated freight, or what you know as DDP, and you are not the importer of record, which you are not on a DDP product, you can't file for an exclusion because you're not the importer of record. You're not anywhere on file on that import, so you can't really file for a refund. So if you ship on a traditional product, or what we call like a regular LCL or regular FCL or regular F rate, and you are the importer of record, then you can file for an exclusion. Either way, check that.
You mean you can file for a refund? File for a refund. You're talking about the refund.
If you're the importer of record, you can file for a refund.
For a refund.
And if you're not, you're not the importer of record.
Yeah, but whether you're whether you're the importer of record or not, you'll still have the exclusion, meaning the tariffs will change here onwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is really great news for anyone that's on the list of those 352 products.
Yeah, and even besides that 352 products, it's very important to people understand that there are exclusions. So even if you have Trump duties applicable to your products, you still need to check that every couple of months to see if there are changes around that, or something happened, or if you didn't file for an exclusion, you are granted for an exclusion, you can get a lot of refunds back historically. So that's a very, very important thing to know for people. We have on our website a Trump tariff calculator where you can actually put your HS code and know instantly if your product is having Trump duties on it. Just Google Unicargo Trump tariff, and you'll see like a small nice widget when you put your HS code and you see what Trump duties applicable on your product. Then you go back to your broker and then start looking for exclusions on these type of products. Let's move on.
So cool. So when I just had a question and it just left my mind, but dang it, I forgot. But what we will say is, so how to handle this situation specifically is to speak to your forwarder. In this case, for example, for me, it would be you, and to say, hey, I know about the new
exclusion that's got renewed.
Exclusion. Is my product a part of it? And if so, awesome. A, can I get a refund? No, if I can't, okay, at least I know here moving forward, I'm not going to pay the Trump tariffs. And it's important that people understand that this is specifically about the Trump tariffs, because there are certain products that will still have like the normal tariffs. It's just specifically on the China tariffs.
Just
awesome.
Well, you know that before Trump tariff, it was a long time ago, but before Trump tariff, duties for Chinese products were very low, generally. 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. We've never seen, I don't know if we've never, but you rarely see, again, before Trump duties, you rarely saw anything above 10% duty. Rarely. Usually it was between 0 to 6% on most of consumer products from China.
And then today there's products that even have like 50% and above.
25, additional 25,
yeah. Like backpacks can get even up to like 45%, I think. Yeah. So that's on top of the normal tariff. So sometimes that can be crazy. Okay, cool. We have I just decided to change it. We have a second good thing. Let's talk about the second good thing, and then I'll find a good thing for when we end. The second new update that's going on, the current rates?
Yeah, so we've seen that ever since Chinese New Year, the rates are dropping, spot rates are dropping for sea freight, for moving containers from China to the States. They are dropping for several reasons. The first and major reason is that basically after factories got back from the Chinese New Year, usually it takes time to initiate all the reorders, manufacture. So usually every year we see it that the month of March is very low with volume. So there's not a lot of volume on the market, and then carriers just have space. And when you have enough space, rates are dropping because they need more freight, right? Carriers are looking for more freight because they need to fill their vessels with containers. So usually March is lower. But again, what happened with the COVID cases, Shanghai got in a severe lockdown. The lockdown was supposed to be lifted in 1st of April and it got extended. They are still on a heavy lockdown. It's starting to get better in the past couple of days, but it's still a severe lockdown, which mainly means that factories can't manufacture because their employees or labor can't get to the warehouse. Truck drivers are not moving. There is a lot of movement restrictions between cities, between districts in the main cities. So you can't really, even if you have products that is ready around Shanghai, it's very hard to move it to the port. The ports are operational. It's very important to say, but it's very hard to get a product to the port. That's around Shanghai. And again, where there is no volume, there is not enough products, you can't have enough containers to fill ships, and meaning rates start to drop, spot market rates start dropping. The alarming thing that we see is that these new cases starting to happen in Ningbo as well, goes down the coastline. Guangzhou is also on the rise of new cases. And that's the bad thing. Let's focus on the good things.
Yeah, let's talk about the good thing first. So what you're saying is currently sea rates are going down. So temporarily we are predicting that probably, I'm going to say the month of April, it's a good month.
Still going to be low, and we see rates for the second half of April are going to drop again. Again, it's not a huge drop by thousands. It's dropped by a couple of hundreds per container, but it's a drop. It's a good trend.
Still a drop.
Yeah.
What is the average? What is the average pricing currently for a container, full container from?
Ningbo, LA. That's the main indicator that we use. Ningbo, Shanghai, LA. We're looking at around 8,500, 9,000. That's the range for containers right now on the spot market. Funny thing is that there's a very big behind the scene, and we are heavily involved in that. Behind the scene, there is a huge negotiations between carriers, the shipping lines, and BCOs. BCOs are basically beneficiary cargo owners. It's the cargo owners, big importers. And the carriers, the shipping lines, are now afraid that the rates are dropping and they're going to lose their historical gains like they did last year. They did billions of dollars. They profited like they've never did in the past 15 years in 1 year. They made more money in 1 year than they made in the past 15 years. And they want to keep that situation going for as long as they can.
As long as they can.
So what happens is that they see the spot market is dropping, and they see, again, we're talking about a month, a contract negotiation period. It's a certain period of time in the year. It's usually between March to June, where shippers negotiate with carriers. And we see that in the effect of 2021's, by the effect of last year, importers are very, very eager to sign long-term commitments, long-term contracts with carriers to keep on some kind of forecast stability, right? Even if you lock down a rate of $10,000, you hedge yourself. All right, that's my rate. I have stability for the next year. I'm good with it. As long as I can't get hit by, rates soaring to 15K,
20K.
A lot of them are willing to sign, even though they know they have the risk of the spot market going down.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though they know that there is a chance that containers freight will stabilize in 2022 on $8,000, for example, they are willing to sign for 10,000 because they're hedging their risk of not going up from 10,000.
So
now
they're willing to do that so that they have stability, as you said, so that they know that that's the cap that
that's their rate,
okay.
that's their cogs. Let's move on. Let's work.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
And now there is a huge war between the carriers, the shipping lines, and the importers. The carriers want to lock them for longer periods of time. So we see contracts. We deal a lot with contracts for our bigger clients. And we see that the shipping lines are offering now 2-year commitment, 3 years. They want to lock down the importers for 2-year, 3-year commitment, very long-term commitment on a higher rate. Wow. And that could be very, very risky because nobody, if you lock yourself down on a contract for 3 years, that's stupid, right? On a $10,000, $9,000 a container, that's very, very risky because if the rate goes down in 2023 to 5,000, oh fuck. And again, you can't break a contract. That's what they call a dead freight agreement. You commit to a minimum container quantity. If you don't bring that container, you pay. That's dead freight agreement both ways. If the carrier doesn't give you space, he pays you money. It's kind of a both way commitment. They call it a dead freight agreement. So if you don't bring what you committed to, you pay.
Wow.
And there's a huge war between the importers and the carriers. The carriers want to lock them down with the highest rate possible, right? And
for the longest time possible.
Yeah, and the importers they are okay with a higher rate, but they want 6-month contract, quarterly contract, or a yearly contract. So there's a huge war there. And we already know of a lot of clients that signed deals for 9,000, 10,000 for a 2-year, and the spot is lower. Even now, the spot market is lower. So you can actually buy without a contract, lower than what you have on a contract. It's a very interesting situation.
It's a tough situation because when I had you on last year in, I don't know, I can't remember, I think it was like October or something like that. There was about, or maybe it was, I can't remember, but there was 1 month
15, 16,
where
17,
the prices went back up to 15, 16, even 20,000 at some point. Yep. We saw early 2021 and late 2020 prices got all up to 25,000 even for a container. And it's a tough one because we don't know where the world's going, and every day something's different. I know that every time
very tough decision. And we know that, the big players in the world, Nike, Adidas, Walmart, they've signed contracts. Again, they don't sign contract for 10,000 or 9,000. Yeah, their contracts are around $5,000, $4,000 a container
because of the volume that they bring in.
Again, they move
crazy
millions and millions of TUs a year.
Yeah.
But even that, it's double and triple that than previous year contracts. Yeah. Even that $4,000, $5,000 container, that's triple than what they used to sign, and they signed it. So it's a very interesting market. Very, very interesting market. It's kind of a bidding war that is going on right now. The carriers are trying to keep it as high as possible. They are trying to lock down importers for as a longer contract they can, at a higher rate they can. What will happen, and we already see it happen, is when the carriers will not let the spot market drop too much between the contract and the spot, which means if the majority of the smaller shippers signed, again, when I say smaller shipper, I'm talking about 500, 600, 700 containers a year, right? That's smaller shipper for shipping line. That's micro. It's very, very small for a shipping line. So I think the carrier will start limiting space to keep the spot market higher, right? Wow. Limiting space means blank vessels. They say, hey, we don't have enough volume. There is no sailing this week. Right? By canceling sailing, you limit the space artificially.
You create more demand.
Yeah, you create more demand artificially. Because again, if the going rate for small size, medium size shipper on a contract is gonna be 7,000, 8,000, and we know that's the rates that on the market today, the carrier will not allow spot market to go back to 5 or 6, right? because then they'll be in a big problem with their contracts, with their bigger clients. They're going to be in a real problem. So for what happens this year and next year, we don't see rates drop below $7,000 a container in the next year or so. And I think carriers will gonna fight that dramatically with limiting space. Artificial, just cancel the voyage, right? There is no voyage this week, sorry. It is what it is. And then you have too much containers on the ground, spot market
and then
goes
it creates
up, no space. Again, no space, spot markets goes up, no volume on the ground, too much space, spot market goes down because they want to sell. So it's a very interesting game, but this game affects the smaller seller, but because the smaller sellers plays on the spot market. Smaller sellers, medium-sized sellers, even big sellers, Amazon sellers, they don't move. Again, I'm not talking about aggregator, I'm talking about individual sellers. They don't move hundreds and hundreds of containers a year. So they are all on the spot market. Nobody's really giving them contracts because they are too small. But the whole global effect of contracts really affecting the small sellers because they play on the spot market. So yeah, that's a very interesting.
So moving back for a second to the lockdowns, I was just, as you were talking, I was looking at when on the 17th of March, I wrote a message to one of my sourcing agents, and then she was telling me, you know, Sharon, Shenzhen is currently in lockdown for a week. And then I think that Guangdong was in lockdown for a week. So I saw that last month in March.
South China was on lockdown, but it's lifted. There is no.
It was correct. It was lifted, but when you have a manufacturer that was locked down for a week, and then other like that must have also create some sort of delay because there's a backlog in orders. Are you guys are you seeing that now there is, because of the lockdowns from last month on top of the lockdowns now, are you seeing though from the lockdowns of last month that there is a whole bunch of shipments trying to get out that you can't get out? Like what's happening with that?
No.
What's
the market is still low on volume. And if suppliers were on lockdown last month, they still haven't finished, manufacturing since they opened, right? Again, there is a manufacturing cycle. It's not that they open tomorrow and the next day the product is ready. There's like an order there's an order book. There's an order book, with priority by the size of importer you are, or by the size of order. And there is, again, labor problems. And the market is still very low on volume, even on South China. That's why spot rate, again, we look at it, we monitor the situation by the rates. Right. When we see the rates that are dropping, we know that there is not enough volume, or there are big disruptions like lockdowns, movement restrictions, and factories shutting down. And that's why that takes me to the bad news, that we expect in the second half of the year that rates are gonna spike up again, because again, the factories will open, there will be a shitload of orders ready to move.
Also, people getting ready for Q4.
People not manufacturing in the first year, Q4 coming in, and on top of that, and there's gonna be, again, the anticipation in the market that there's gonna be a flood of cargo in the second half of the year, which is about a month and a half from now. And
which will cause for price increase again.
It will cause demand to grow more than supply, and basically that brings you to a price goes up. And that's why we say that second half of the year we're gonna see a price hike. We can't tell, or nobody knows by how much, but we're gonna see it happen. Don't forget Ukraine, Russia situation, fuel is getting higher and higher. Biden just signed banning Ukrainian or Russian oil. So we already see oil prices hiking. You all see it on the news, on a gas station in the States, prices are going through the roof. That's obviously affecting, domestic trucking movements, costs. So trucking is going up again. But that's also affecting shipping lines, because shipping lines also use fuel, and that will also affect prices immediately, I guess.
Okay, so we just talked about the lockdowns in China. You also just mentioned, which was going to be something that we spoke about as well, the Biden banning the Russian oil as well. So from what you're saying, April and May are good months to get stock out of China because the prices are probably, going to stay stable. And then we can expect.
The question is if you can move, because lockdowns and shit.
Of course. And if you can, and then we expect from June onwards that it could happen in one go, it could happen slowly, but from June onwards, there's going to be an increase in.
We expect it to be a week by week increase.
Week by week increase. Every week.
A slight increase and a slight increase again.
Which also means that people need to take into consideration when they're getting quotes as well for their cargo, that those quotes are not going to be, for 3 weeks or anything. They'll have an expiration date.
They'll
exactly.
Probably have a week, and don't wait for price to go down because most likely it'll just go up and not down. So don't wait with your shipment until something better comes in because it'll probably just go up. We've seen that, last year and in 2020 that rates were going up every couple of days. Hopefully we won't get to the same situation, but we expect prices to go up. I don't think they'll go up to 16,000, 17,000 a container like we've seen during the pandemic. But I think they'll go up to 11, 12, $13,000 a container. Hopefully no more than that, hopefully less, but we'll see. Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows.
I've learned to stop giving numbers on things because who would have thought at any stage that a price of a container could reach 25,000 last year, so it's a tough one. But all right, let's move on to port congestions in LA.
Well, LA has seen some better days in the past couple of months. In the peak, we've seen 115 vessels waiting to berth, with wait times of 20 to 30 days just to berth, just to have the vessel at anchor at the port starting to discharge. We went down to 30 ships in the best case scenario in the past month, but now we are seeing that there is a queue again. It's growing. We are talking about last updated I saw is 3 days ago. We were at 45 ships outside of Los Angeles and an average waiting time of 15 days.
Wow.
From the moment the vessel arrives at anchor outside the port up until it gets into the port, get berth and start working on it, you're looking at about 15 days. So again, 17 days transit time, 15 days delay, you are looking at 31 days, then another 2-3 days for container unloading. You're looking at 35 days, China, West Coast, Los Angeles, Long Beach. Oakland, we're looking at about 15 vessels at anchor, wait time of about 10 days at Oakland. Again, West Coast is getting congested again. And it's, again, if our anticipation is right, and the market's going to be flooded with volume, with cargo in the next couple of months, that number is just going to grow. We have the union negotiations, Los Angeles Long Beach union negotiation, meaning the contract between the labor union and the port of Los Angeles Long Beach is going to expire in June 30th. By the end of June, the contract is going to expire. Historically, when labor union contract is expired, they're starting a negotiation about a month and a half before the expiration date. But usually, when they don't get into agreement, there are problems like strikes, problems like low efficiencies, shortage of manpower, and that if that happens, then and flooding the market with volume all of a sudden again. That might trickle down to a very huge congestions again in Los Angeles, Long Beach. Again, nobody knows, but that's something that is hovering above us.
Yeah.
We're gonna know more by the end of June about the labor union negotiations. That's a very big things in the US right now. About everybody talks about it. We've already seen shipping lines starting to divert vessels from the West Coast to the East Coast because of that uncertainty around the Los Angeles, Long Beach ports. So rates for, again, all goes down to a big forecast of rates. Rates probably gonna be moving faster on the uptrend for Los Angeles, Long Beach than to Oakland. And again, we gotta wait for a month and a half to see how it goes. East Coast is getting, let's say New York have 8 vessels at anchor. Again, 2 days, according to data from 2 days ago, 8 vessels at anchor, 3 to 5 days waiting time for vessels to go into the port. Houston, we have about 10 days wait time. Charleston, there's a big problem there. We're looking about, again, 10-15 days dwell time, waiting time for vessels to get into the port from the moment they arrive. So US getting congested again. Ports are getting congested again, and there are big fears that Los Angeles, Long Beach is gonna go back to the worst days that we've seen, about 100, hundreds of vessels outside the port, and again, waiting time of weeks and weeks just to get your vessel into the port and container unloaded.
So,
yeah.
So what would be then our advice to the listeners on that? I mean, the logic is that means that
the best advice I could give is you need to be kept updated on the situation, and if the market trend is going to be, worst case in Los Angeles, try to divert cargo to the East Coast. We've seen shipping lines already doing it now. So again, you need to.
But that will also, won't that then also cause congestion in the East Coast if everyone then starts diversion? Yeah. I think part of the advice would also be that, and I hate saying this because not everyone can, but if you can and your products have enough history there, start making larger orders, because which is something we've seen a lot of people doing. Not everyone has the cash flow to do, but if historically your products do have that history, that it makes sense.
That's advice is very relevant for the past 2 years. Right?
Of course, 100%.
Prices are very high. You want to move as much as you can to get your unit cost as low as possible on a bigger shipping. Again, remember the rule of thumb in shipping is the bigger your order, the lower your
cost per
cost is going to be per unit. Basically, the smaller your order, the higher per unit cost you're going to have on the shipping. So yeah, I would say keep yourself updated, really updated on what's going on. Keep yourself updated on the spot market. I'll try to come talk to you every month. Situation.
Gotta hold you to that.
Yeah, we are building an index. We are really building now an index. We have a huge data department now that we are trying to release an index, a weekly index to the market of what's going on the spot market and the trend. That would really help. And we haven't seen anything like that. There is Freightos index, but it's not really accurate for smaller shippers. So we're gonna start pushing much more data to the market very, very soon. Just Amazing. Try to keep yourself updated on what's going on. Congestion problem are a big fear right now. If you can ship, just ship as early as possible.
Something I do to stay updated is I have a Google alert on sorry, my voice. I have Google alerts on certain words like supply chain, congestion, freight, and things like that. And I get daily emails. It's also a good way, just advice to the listeners, a good way to stay updated. And of course, I always say this to build a relationship with your freight forwarder, but also when you have that kind of relationship, I know your sister was like my point of contact now mostly, and I often message her and ask for updates just so I know what's going on as well if I'm not shipping during that specific period of time.
Yeah, that's very important.
All right. Is there anything else you feel that is important to add onto our updates today? We'll do a, I was going to say, we'll do a really quick recap. We spoke about the USTR extension for and how people from the 352 products can also get refunds, and also know that there will be a waive in some China exclusion, waive in some China tariffs. We spoke about sea rates temporarily going down. We spoke about port congestion, China lockdowns, the labor union, and how that can affect us in the next couple of months and cause even more congestion. And we very briefly spoke about the Bidon banning Russian oil, which also has an impact on trucking costs. Anything else you think that we need to add?
No, I would say that's it. Just keep yourself updated. You'll be all right.
Of course, it all, it's every day. It's an adjustment, and it's an adjustment. Amazon just added new fees.
I saw on your
in my post. Yeah, they added but again, like, one thing I feel currently, I'm just trying to remember what they called it, fuel and inflation surcharges. They added 5% on
Etsy just did it as well. Etsy also raised 5%. Yeah,
I did see that Etsy did as well. So it's 5% though on the FBA fee. It's not 5% of the sale price, which some people thought it was. But one thing goes down, for example, shipping costs may go down, and then suddenly Amazon puts one thing up. It's just part of adjustments, and the whole world is going through it in every single field of business. So
Amazon sellers have been, kind of used to that in the past 2 years, with the craziness going on. So it's not new that the market is just changing very, very fast, and you have to adapt. We've been there.
Yeah.
At least we are kind of used to this type of situation from the past 2 years, from the pandemic, that things are really, really fluid and move very fast and volatile. So at least we got that skill, that we are used to things.
To be resilient to it.
Exactly.
All right, Refael, thank you very, very much for coming on. I look forward to bringing you on next month in May for May's update. Thank you for April's update. Of course, we filmed this on the 14th of April. So anyone watching this, anything could change by next week. We don't know. That's just how it is right now. Thank you again. If anyone wants to reach out to Unicargo, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Just Google Unicargo. You can reach us through our website. You can search my name on Facebook, LinkedIn. Which is
Refael Elbaz, Refael Elbaz.
Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. You can look up my name, or just look up Unicargo. Just send us a message on any of these platforms. Someone will pick it up really fast and reply and help you with whatever you need.
Amazing. If anyone wants to reach out to me or to follow me, you can find my YouTube channel, the Sharon Even YouTube channel, and my Facebook group, the Amazon FBA Alphas. And you can find Sharon Even also on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, LinkedIn, etc. Refael, thank you. I'll see you next month. Happy Passover. Bye, everyone. Thank you.